Good morning, everybody, and welcome out to the Infusionsoft Mastermind webinar. My name is Scott Richens. I'm a member of the training team here, and I am excited to be with you here today as we are getting started with a particular session. This is one of my favorite sessions to teach about saving time and automating your repetitive tasks. I realized last night that I had picked out this topic, but I hadn't sent out an email to you guys, so I apologize on this particular one for such late notice on this particular webinar here. I'll work on that in the future. But if you're able to or if you can hear me at this point, if you can see my screen, go ahead and give me a shout out. Let me know where you guys are coming from. Scott here is already telling me that we've got video and audio coming through. We've got to get the words going here this morning. We've got a lot to cover. We've got Jeff joining us from Kent, England. All right, so we've got folks all over the place here that are joining us. Idaho, Florida, Tampa. So a number of folks jumping on. I can't read off everybody here, but I'm excited to have you here joining us today. Again, like I said, this is one of my favorite topics that oftentimes gets overlooked in Infusionsoft. So many times we talk about different things that you can do to capture leads online, to follow up online, to automate your online sales, to optimize your website like we did last week with some WordPress plugins. All of that has to do with online type processes. And so I like to throw in this particular session. This one's been requested a number of times recently as well. And it has to do with what we term here workflow automation. And we're going to begin looking at things within your business that now you can very tangibly get a direct result from time savings that you're automating tasks that you used to do before, that you used to spend time, minutes doing every day, multiple times a day. That's what today is all about. So that's what we're going to be covering. Again, let me flip on my presentation here. Got a couple things to cover as we're getting started. Again, my name's Scott Richens. If you want to connect with me on Twitter, I invite you to do so. My Twitter handle is Scott Richens. Looks just like it sounds there. And the hashtag that I use for everything related to the Infusionsoft Mastermind calls is hashtag #ISMastermind. So if you want to join the conversation there, ask me some questions after the webinar or otherwise, feel free to do so. I always love connecting with our customers there. And also, since it's more of a public forum, other people can learn from the conversation as well. So I invite you to join me over there. Now, a couple announcements here as we are getting started. One that I like to bring up here always is our Infusionsoft Virtual Academy series. If you are here on the mastermind calls, you probably came to us by way of the Virtual Academy. But if not, I want to make sure that you're aware of it. We're all about training here and helping you be successful. And the Virtual Academy is the series of free webinars that we've put together to help you or new employees that you bring on board with your company to help them get up to speed with Infusionsoft. And so the goal here is really building the foundational understanding of Infusionsoft, how to create emails, how to navigate Infusionsoft, how to create campaigns from the very basic level, how to set up your e-commerce. So a lot of basic foundational skills that we need to cover. We teach those in the Virtual Academy webinars. I invite you to go sign up for those. I host those myself, as do some others that I pull in to help me out there. And you can find that at help.infusionsoft.com/academy. Great place for a brand new Infusionsoft user to start. The next thing that I want to announce here is just a repeat announcement. This is our Infusionsoft University London. I've been announcing this one here for a couple weeks. We still have just a couple seats left. I think we're down to 2 or 3 seats left. So if you're interested in joining us there in London next week, that'll be Tuesday through Friday next week for Infusionsoft University. I invite you to check out the website on that, infusionsoft.com/UK University. That is a paid event that we are putting on. We're bringing over Jordan Hatch, Francis Jones, and myself, and a few others to put on that event. We'll have about 75 folks out there, and we are excited to come out for that 4-day event. It's a lot of fun. It's a jam-packed session where we really dive deep into Infusionsoft. It's a great way to really get up to speed with Infusionsoft and expand your use of Infusionsoft. So I invite you to check that one out. Scott here joined one of our last ones. He said it's so good he'd almost fly there to see it again. So there's a vote of confidence from one of your peers. So I invite you to check that one out. Because of that particular event, I will not be hosting a mastermind webinar next week. So we will be taking a break next week as I'll be there doing some training, and we'll pick up the week after that. So just a heads up there. I'll send out a reminder email to that effect next week as well. Now, the other thing that I want to point out here is the voting that we have taking place, where you can vote up different topics. And I don't necessarily cover one of these topics every week. Sometimes I pull one out of my grab bag of something that I want to cover that I see is important to the community, like I'm doing this week. However, 2 or 3 times a month, I will pull the topics from what you guys have submitted and voted up. So I invite you to check that out. Go to mastermindwebinars.uservoice.com. It did just come to my attention here that I'm not including that link in the emails that I've been sending out to you guys. So I will get that fixed as well, so that you guys have access to that, and a weekly reminder to go vote up and submit the topics that are most important to you guys. My goal here, and our goal on these mastermind webinars, is to really speak to the topics that are important to you to help you make a difference in your business. And so that's what I want to hear from you guys on. So mastermindwebinars.uservoice.com. Again, feel free to follow me on Twitter. I'll post that one out again as well. So let's tee up today what we're covering here. Vladimir's excited for this one. He says, "Thank God I made it to this one." We are covering save time and automate your repetitive tasks. Now, like I said, as I was starting off, I said so many times with Infusionsoft we think online. We're talking lead generation and web forms. We're talking landing pages. We're talking email marketing and drip marketing sequences. Maybe we're talking online sales. That's a whole lot of online stuff. But the fact of the matter is that most of us, many of us, are still rolling into the office. We're communicating with customers. We're taking phone calls. We're logging notes about interactions. We're doing a lot of manual processes that take up our time. I experienced this myself. I send out broadcast emails to approximately 12,000 people every week, and many people then respond to me, and there's a lot of manual work associated with that to follow up. If any of you haven't received a response from me, I apologize. That's why. And I try and keep up and take some time to really keep up on the emails as well. But there are certain things that sometimes you just got to sit down and write. But what I want to focus on here is looking at your repetitive tasks. What are those things that you're doing 2, 3, 5, 10 times a day? And how can we now put Infusionsoft and the automation power of Infusionsoft to work, helping you directly in your business and what it is that you're doing on a day-to-day basis? And many times these things that I'm talking about here get overlooked. So that's why I want to highlight them. So I'm going to jump out of my presentation here because the rest of this is going to be inside of Infusionsoft. So I'm going to log into my application here. And I am going to, it takes me here directly to the My Day page. And we're going to be talking about My Day here in a little bit. But I want to start off in the campaign builder. I want to start off with some of the tools that we're going to be leveraging here as we're talking about workflow automation and automating your tasks. So let's jump over there. We're going to go over to campaigns, the campaign builder. I'm going to add a campaign here. And that campaign that I add will be this. Let me go. This is going to be my mastermind workflow automation. Now, I'm going to assume some knowledge here. I'm going to assume that you guys are fairly familiar with the campaign builder. We've got our goals and we've got our sequences. And it really doesn't matter what type of goal that I choose over here. I can pull out any one of these goals, and then I can begin to configure that. And the goals that we're going to start talking about, you'll notice that things are segmented here. It's contacts and users. We're going to be talking about these user goals for the most part down below here. These are things that your Infusionsoft users can do. These are actions that they will take: submitting an internal form, completing a task, moving an opportunity, applying a note, or applying a tag. Now, let's give some framework here as we're going through this. I want to ask you this question. What are some things that you're doing throughout your day? What are some repetitive tasks, repetitive actions that you are doing day in and day out that are beginning to take up some of your time? Are there repetitive communications? Are there repetitive administrative tasks that you're performing day in and day out? Go ahead and give me some feedback there in the questions section. I want to hear from you guys on what you're doing. What things that always come to mind when I start to look at these ones, okay? A lot of times this is going to have to do with corresponding with your customers, okay? As you're now interacting with your customers, that's really what I'm looking at here. It's follow-up tasks that you need to perform. And many times when you perform those tasks, you need to log the tasks. If you're doing a proper CRM system, you're going to log those types of interactions. There may be repetitive questions that you're asked that now you need to send out a follow-up to. There might be reminders that you need to create for yourself, typical follow-ups that need to take place. One of the things that I always look at here, and let me, I always think of these as dominoes, okay? What are those steps that you're doing in your business right now? What are those follow-ups that you're doing that are like tipping over one domino at a time? I need to log this note in Infusionsoft, and then I need to send them a follow-up email. So I'm going to log the fact that we had a phone call. Then I'm going to send them a follow-up email. And then I'm going to schedule myself a task to call them again in 3 days to follow up on what it is that we talked about. It's like tipping over dominoes one at a time. I got to log the note. I got to send the email. And now I got to schedule the task. What are some things that you're doing over and over again? Okay, so some of the feedback I'm getting here, KT says updating tags as contacts move through our process. Absolutely, you'll love this one. Karina says uploading opportunities on a daily basis. I may not be able to help that one specifically, but we'll see about that. Sandy, sending the same emails over and over. Danny, following up to client calls where they left a message, called a client and left a message. Rob says logging a call and rescheduling if a person is not reached. Constantino says doing a follow-up class or a follow-up task, following up to a particular call or a particular interaction. How do we then follow up to that? Cancellation follow-ups, sending monthly reports. So I want you to start thinking about some of these things that you're trying to do on a regular basis. Now, when you've got your mindset there, let's start looking at some of the tools that we have to work with. Like I said, we've got submits an internal form, completes a task, moves an opportunity, applies a note, and applies a tag. What we're talking about here are the specific ways. Goals represent specific ways that we are able to track something occurring. Okay, so let's start at the very top. Submits an internal form. Now, where submits an internal form comes in great is if you have ever received you get a new prospect via phone, right? Somebody calls in, phones into you, maybe they call up, and now you need to trigger some sort of follow-up to them. Now, typically, if you're not using an internal web form, what that looks like in Infusionsoft is you're going to add that person manually, and then you're going to initiate whatever follow-up needs to happen. It's tipping over one domino to add them and a second domino to now initiate whatever follow-up needs to happen. What I want you to think about is how do we make that more like the fun part of dominoes, which is they're all stacked up, you tip one, and then the rest just happens automatically. Okay, we all know ourselves and employees will make mistakes. We're not perfect. We're going to forget something along the way. But what if all you have to do is remember to do the first step? And then everything else happens automatically. Okay? What we're able to do with these internal forms, these internal forms are like web forms that would be used on your website, except now you can use them inside of Infusionsoft. This is beneficial for a whole lot of reasons. But the most important one is the fact that the automation that your customers, your contacts and prospects experience with an autoresponder automatically triggered to them, you can now leverage that inside your business. So what we've got right here, we've got this internal form, and with just like everything else, I can now pull out a sequence that is now going to be triggered as a follow-up. So let's talk about this internal form. Let's take a look. Now, here's another reason these are so helpful to utilize. Okay, I'm going to pull up another window here just to make a point of comparison. If you were to go add a new contact, one of the things that I've heard people ask for over and over again is, hey, you know what? I've got some custom fields that I want to fill out, but I have to go all the way through all of these different tabs when I'm entering in contacts. Can I get a custom contact entry screen? That's something that I've heard asked for a number of times from customers. So what you're able to do right here when you're creating your internal form, this is back in the campaign builder. When you're creating an internal form, you're essentially creating a custom contact entry form, and you're triggering the automatic follow-up that comes from there. Okay, so let's take a look at that. What you're able to do when you're customizing this one, notice that it's got first name, email. Notice there's not any fanciness to this one. There's no background to it. Even if I click layout and style, there's no style option. Okay, reason being, these aren't meant to be fancy forms. These are going to be used only by people that are your users that have access to Infusionsoft. So it's not going to be something really fancy. This is really just more of a bare bones type thing. So maybe I need a first name and a last name. Okay. Actually, if I don't want to require the last name, I will pull in a different name snippet here. And maybe I can require the first name, but leave the last name optional. So now I can do a first name and a last name if I get it. I can put an email address in there. Maybe I can pull in a phone number as well. Okay. All set. So you can begin to go through and customize these. Like I mentioned, if you're doing custom fields that you need to add as well, you can pull in that other snippet. And with other, what you're then able to do is go choose any of those custom fields. Okay, so let's say I can choose either the custom fields that I've got down here, or I can choose from additional fields. I'm going to choose birthday for now so I can demonstrate what we can do with dates as well. So I can gather that information here. What this is creating for me is a custom contact entry field. So I'll mark this one as ready and say back to campaign. So that is now creating for me that custom contact entry form. What I can now do as well is trigger and designate what that automated follow-up is going to be. So let's say I get that new prospect. They follow up with me here, or I enter them into the system. Now, what I would recommend that you look at is what is the typical follow-up that you may want to do here? What are you going to do in response? Okay. One of the first things that you may do that would be one of those task things that you've got to do, one of those manual steps that you would do, is maybe you would go in and designate this person as a prospect by manually applying a tag. Well, don't manually do that. You're going to forget at some point. You're wasting time every time you manually do that. If I'm adding a new prospect form, then great. Let's just have the tag automatically applied. Prospect tag, new lead. That's one I'll choose right here. That's just one step taken out of my process. I don't have to remember to do that anymore. Okay. Maybe I want to create a task for myself that says I need to follow up with this person in 3 days. I need to give them a call in 3 days. Fantastic. I can pull out a task right here. Now that task is automatically created, and I can go through and say call this particular person, call the prospect, and heck, I'll merge in their name right here so I don't even have to guess who they are. Merge in first name, merge in last name. So now we're automatically creating a follow-up task as well. And then within here in the body, I could even make it easier for myself and just put phone number as well. So here is their phone number. I could even put notes as far as what the script might be. Again, you can make it as easy as possible by just including some of that information here in your workflow. If there were a phone script that needed to take place on this particular call, great. Put in your phone script within here as well. And then you don't have to go look elsewhere for it. Okay. So I can assign these. I'm going to assign it to myself for this particular scenario. It's due in 3 days. And this will be a essential call. Great. Now I've automatically created a task. So what we're starting to look at here really is these process things. Okay, we've got some different process items that can take place. This tag will be created or applied. This task will be created, and then I'll have to follow up on that in 3 days. If there's an automatic welcome email that I need to send, then fantastic. I can put that welcome email right here. And this is where, if you haven't seen me cover creating a personal correspondence email template, I'm going to recommend that you check out my virtual academy course on creating email templates. I have an email template that I like to use that is my personal correspondence email template. And why is this one important? Why do I recommend this one here? Because when I'm doing workflow here, when I'm talking about workflow, it would be unnatural if an automatic email that I have sent out to save me time looks like some big designed marketing email. So I'm going to recommend that you put together a simple looking email, kind of like this one, if you're going to have any stock responses that are automatically sent out. We'll talk a little bit more about this in some future examples I'll cover here in a few moments. But what you're able to do right here is you could then put within this email, you could say, welcome, it was great to chat with you. And you could carry on with whatever your automated follow-up would be there. Again, then that's automatically sent out. If you really want to make it feel more authentic, what I like to do within here is I like to add a timer right before the email. Okay, again, I'm talking workflow automation here. Let's make sure certain things happen. And then let's also not do it to the expense, though, that our customers are then feeling that it's very inauthentic. Okay, so we can take a delay timer here and we can have it delay 15 minutes. So then that email gets dropped to them 15 minutes later. Heck, you can even schedule it to always run during certain times of day. Personally, if I'm on the phone with you, I'm going to make sure that the email gets sent out to you shortly. So I'll just set that to any day and then late at night there. Perfect. So then we're all set. So what this is now doing for me, let me turn on my sequence here and let me publish. Okay, we're publishing this particular campaign. What we now have is this contact entry form as well as an automated follow-up. So here's what that looks like. If I go back to my add to contact screen and I refresh that, now what I have within here is my new prospect phone. It looks like I've done this one before. So there we go. This is the one I just set up. First name, last name, email, phone, and birthday. What I'm able to do here is now enter this information. I don't have to jump back and forth between multiple tabs. And what I'm able to do is trigger that automation that we just set up. So now what we're doing is we're taking the automation that's available to you when you're setting things up online and bringing it within your business. You just save the time from hunting around to create this particular contact record. You save time from applying the tag. You save time from triggering that email automatically, scheduling that task. Every time you do this, you're winning time. You're becoming more efficient in your processes each day. Okay, so that's what we've got right here. That begins to set up our internal forms. Now, there's another way that you can use internal forms. Okay, so I just showed you this one. Filling this out would automatically create a contact record, and off we go. Let me go ahead and fill one out here. There we go. I have permission to send to this person, and we will say birthday here is today. Great. Save and add. So that will add this particular person. Okay. Now, you'll notice it doesn't have a tag quite yet, but it was just triggering that campaign. So it may take a second there for that tag to then be applied. Okay. It's going to run that particular process. But let's talk about the next step here of internal forms. What you're also to do with internal forms, you can go right down here on the contact record and you can choose an internal form from here. And when I choose that one and say fill out this form, it pops up the form and it pre-populates information that we already have. Now, where does this come in really handy? We can use them right here on the contact record. Heck, we can also use these on our contact searches, if I were to go in and do a particular search or pull up a contact record here, what I can do is I can access internal forms here as well to fill those out. Why is this beneficial? Why do we have this in place? Well, how many of you schedule consultations or schedule follow-ups or have steps, subsequent steps that are contingent upon information being gathered up front? If we're talking consultations, sometimes that's the easiest one to talk about. If we're talking about a consultation, I've got to have a date and a time already defined for that particular consultation. If I don't have those, then sending out some sort of follow-up isn't as valuable. So what you're able to do is go right here. We can create, again, another, actually, let me choose a different one here. Let's say request a meeting. Perfect. I'm going to create this as something that my users in Infusionsoft, maybe we're scheduling these consultations based on a phone call. I can set this up to now, again, be an internal form. And with this internal form, I can then schedule a follow-up as well. So let's say on this internal form, what I'm doing is I need to have their first name and email address. I've got to make sure that I've got both of those. And then I need a consultation date and a consultation time. Now, what I'm able to do with those is with this internal form, I'm making sure that all that information is filled out before I then automatically trigger the consultation reminder. Okay, so again, just like we were doing here when we added somebody to Infusionsoft with an internal form, and we then triggered some automatic follow-up, let's do the same thing for a consultation. So let's say I've got first name and email, and then I also want to add another field snippet here. For me personally, what I like to do on these is I'm going to create a custom field here that is initial consultation date. And I'm going to choose the date option there. And then I will create another one called initial consultation time. That's how I like to do it for a couple different reasons. Let me do another one right here. I like to be able to split up my verbiage, say, hey, we're looking forward to meeting with you on this date at this time. When you do a date and time field, it's all together. Plus, date and time fields we're not able to access when we're doing scheduling within the campaign builder. So personally, what I like to do with these is create my time slots as a drop-down. If I have particular times of the day that I will be doing consultations, initial consultation time, I can do a drop down here that says 9 a.m., 9:30 a.m., 10 a.m., something like that. And now here's what I'm able to do. Now that I've got these created here, I can publish that one and say back to campaign. Now here's what I can do. With my follow-up sequence, my automated follow-up, I can do a couple different things. I can set up an immediate email to go out as far as a confirmation. And this can be my immediate confirmation. And I can say, hey, thanks so much. It was great to chat with you. Here is the date and time of our meeting. Okay. You just have that, again, automatically created. I would use a personal correspondence type email template on this one. Personal correspondence here. Perfect. Use this. I would merge in that information. So I would merge in my date and my time. Hey, great to chat with you. We're looking forward to having you in the office on this date at this time. Perfect. Now, what we can also do is we can then put in place a field timer. And what this field timer enables us to do is schedule an automatic reminder at a certain amount of time before or a certain amount of time after a particular date. So what I can do is I can say one day before the initial consultation date, and I like to say use year from field here. I'll talk about that one a little bit more later. I saw some questions that were coming up that this answers. What I would like to do here is I want this to execute on that particular date. So I'm going to say use year from field, and it will be one day before that date at a certain time of day I can define. So it will send out, or it will execute whatever the next step is, and I would do a meeting reminder. Now, this won't always be appropriate if you're creating something where the meeting is going to be the next day. Well, then fantastic. You may not want to set these particular ones up, or you may want to create a secondary form that's a short notice consultation versus one that has more of a lead time. You can create some different options there. But now what this enables me to do, once I've created these and I've published all of this out, what I'm then able to do is, let's say I get a phone call from that same person later, and so I go do a quick search. And again, if you're looking to save time and you're searching Infusionsoft, you want to use Control Q. That activates this quick search box up here. Control Q activates it, and then I can just type in Donald, who was the one that we just created here a moment ago. And I can say, oh, hey, I'm on the phone with Donald. Oh, you want to schedule that initial consultation? Fantastic. Let's go ahead and do that for you. And we come right here. And what did I call that one? It's important to have request a meeting. It's important to have these titles right here very well defined. I would define that as initial consultation. So I don't have to look at request a meeting right here. That's not something that speaks to me well. So I would make sure you use a good naming convention on those particular forms. I forgot to do that there. But then notice what happens here. It pre-populates all this information. I know that I've already got his name and email address. That's set. All I do is fill in the blanks. You know what? We're going to do this next week, on the 18th, and we're going to schedule in for 10 o'clock. Fantastic. And as soon as I hit save, what it's going to do is it now logged that information right here, so I can view that submission here of what was submitted previously. That's underneath the internal form history. And what I can also begin to look at, what also happened, is it added that person to a campaign. And that campaign would have then sent them an immediate confirmation email. Okay, so it would have done that immediate confirmation email. And then what it would do right here is this is waiting to then execute the next step. Okay, I didn't turn on those emails, so they're not showing up right here. But basically, now what it's beginning to do is do all of those reminders for me. This becomes extremely valuable for your customer service representatives, very valuable for your secretaries or administrative assistants, very valuable for sales reps. These are things that you can begin to look at applying within your business so that they are saving time and not wasting time doing these administrative tasks that they would normally be doing. And instead, they're able to be more effective in other places within your business. Now, there's a couple other things there. When we're talking some different date fields and such as well, let me see if it works right here again as we're talking about some some different ways to interact with these date fields. What you're able to do on dates as well, hit the I key. And now what you're able to do is there are short keys here that you can begin to utilize. So if you want to set a day to today's date, or add one day, or subtract a day, or add a week, or subtract a week, what you're able to do is simply hit T for today. You can then go through and you can hit W to move forward a week, K to move back a week, M to move forward a month. You can start to do some things that, again, are helping you be a lot quicker in your utilization of Infusionsoft. So again, if you need to know more about those, any date field that you're utilizing, you can just hit the I key. Okay, I for information. Okay, think about I for information. And that pops up this in-app reminder here, T for today, W for adding a week, K for subtracting a week, Y for adding a year, E for subtracting a year. So you'll notice here, W and K, it's the first part of the week, back part of week. First part of month, back part of month. So it's adding and subtracting type things. So anyways, there's a lot of great things that you can then begin to do to speed up your workflow within your processes. So we've talked about internal forms here, and internal forms are very powerful when you're adding data. Okay. Now, there are some other things that you can begin to do here. Let's talk about those. We'll go back over to the campaign. And one question that always comes up as I'm beginning to do these is people say, well, should I create different campaigns for all of my workflow stuff? And you know what? Honestly, if you're just doing one-off type stuff like we're creating here, we're not creating some sort of long drawn-out campaign with multiple goals. If we're not creating a long drawn-out campaign, and it's just going to be a bunch of almost like stubs right here, it's just, action, reaction, I would put most of those in a single campaign that is my workflow automation campaign, or that is my administrative assistance workflow stuff, or my sales reps workflow stuff. Maybe you break out different campaigns based on the role in the business of the person that will be utilizing them. And so that makes it easier for you to then go in and manage. It really comes down to how you want to manage it. But that's what I would look at doing. I would put multiple of these steps, multiple of these little workflows that we're creating to save you some time. I would put those all in the same campaign. Now, here's the next one that we're going to talk about. Another goal that we have here. Let me pull up another one. Many times I'll pull up this one that says other. Okay. What we're able to do within here, again, with any of these, we can choose one here that is applies a note. This is my next favorite one to utilize. How many of you out there get the same phone calls, the same questions, the same emails from customers over and over and over again, and you send out the same basic follow-up to people? You have frequently asked questions. You have frequent responses that you need to give people. You have those repetitive emails that you now need to send out on a regular basis, or you have repetitive follow-ups that need to happen. Great, I hung up the phone. I need to schedule myself a task to call this person again tomorrow, and I need to note that in the system. Let me show you what you're able to do here. We're going to use applies a note. What you can do with this applies a note goal is this is creating what we call note templates. Anytime you have some sort of repetitive interaction that you need to now log, note templates are what I'm going to recommend that you utilize, because you're saving your time from having to type that note from scratch. So if I typically have some sort of interaction with somebody where they call in, maybe I've got some customer service issue going on. Heck, this can be really, really helpful when you have when you have something pop up. Maybe there's a known issue or something. I'm thinking about that from a software perspective. We use this kind of stuff here at Infusionsoft. But when there are repetitive things that you need to deal with, what you can begin to do is you can create that note right here. So let's say this is my frequently asked question about workflow automation. I could put together a note right here that says this was the type of call, this was the type of question that I got. Now, what's also really nice about using these types of note templates is it makes them easier for you to go search and see how many times this particular issue is coming up. You can start to pull some good reports when you're using these note templates. So let me show you what's going on here. We can put in this description, put in these creation notes that may be relevant to the particular conversation here. So this could either be customer called and asked about workflow automation. I could also then put in any script information that might be in there, or any questions that maybe they're supposed to ask. Okay. So if we did question number 1, you're supposed to ask this particular question. What was their response? Question number 2, what was their response? So now what we're able to do within here is I can say save. And let me publish this one so I can show you how it works, and then we'll talk about the follow-up that you could create from it. So I'm going to publish this note, and let me give it right here. This is going to be my FAQ. We just do FAQ workflow automation and publish that. Now, again, let's say that I got a phone call here. And that phone call, I'll use my Control Q. Again, on a Mac and a PC, it's Control Q. And I'll go search for Donald because I just got this guy on the phone. Boom, pull that particular one up. And I know I'm having this phone call with him. Well, what I can do is I can add a note. Now, typically, if I'm going to add a note, I'm going to click right here and I'm going to go say, okay, well, this was a phone call and the creation notes. What did we do here? Sorry, the type here was a call. And this was our FAQ workflow automation. And now, right? Notice right here all the time that it's taking me to write all this and then log tasks. If you ever wonder why your employees or yourself are not keeping notes, it's because it's not fun and it's annoying, like to just get it all done. So what if instead all I had to do was go choose this right here from a task template that note template that we just created, I choose this, boom, preloads. And now I can come in here. Heck, if I need to have some more room, I can go in. Now I'm on the phone. I'm like, hey, Donald, great. Sorry to hear that you're having that trouble. I can ask him some particular questions here if I need this information. And then I can say, great. How about I send you a follow-up email based on the information that I just gathered from you? I'll send you some information that'll help you out. Fantastic. Good. And I'm done. All I have to do is hit save. And what happens is it adds that note to the customer's history. Okay, so now in one fell swoop, I've logged the interaction, which is something that I have to do anyways. And if there's supposed to be automated follow-up from that, I can tie that to the back end of that note. So as soon as I run that note on FAQ for workflow automation, if I wanted that to trigger a follow-up email with information on that, I could simply put together a single FAQ email for workflow automation that would now be sent out to him. It says, hey, great to chat with you. Here's some tips that I think will help you out. Okay, so what you're able to do here is now take those repetitive things that you've got to do, those emails that you have to send, those notes that you have to log, and now we're lumping them together. We're pulling those all together. So as I apply the note, which is something that I need to do anyways, it is now triggering that email. What are some other things that we could do here? We could have that be a left message. I called and I left a message. And now I need to trigger myself a task reminder for the future. So I left a message and it triggers a task for me in the future. Done. All set. It could be something that is a tag that needs to be applied. So when I have a phone call and somebody requests some particular information, great. I follow up with that. Maybe I got the response back that I needed. They followed up after that initial consultation. I call them afterwards. We have a great chat, and it moves them on to the next step in the process. So I apply a new tag, automate the application of that tag. You can use all of those process items that we have right in here to now begin to automate your steps. Now, there's a couple others in here that I want to begin to talk about, and we've got a little bit more time here. I've got these internal forms. I've got applies note, but then there's another one here that I want you to begin looking at as well, and that is the tasks. Okay, so I started to put this one together here earlier that was a task. Okay, and this was after that internal form. We could have a task created that now says, hey, you need to call and follow up with this particular prospect. So that will be my new prospect follow-up reminder. Okay. Now, many times when you have processes that are taking place within your business, you can have it. You'll have a series of processes, one that's dependent on the next one. So maybe I have to have this particular task. I have to complete this task and follow up with somebody before the next stage starts. Okay, if you are in real estate or doing anything with like loans and loan officer, loan automation and things like that, you may have steps that you have to walk through. If you have any sort of fulfillment that you're doing for your clients, maybe it's post-purchase. Maybe you have to gather signatures from them. Maybe you have people within your office, somebody that first puts together a proposal, a second person that now has to review the proposal, and a third person that is sending that out. Well, that's a very linear process where one has to be done before the next. We can make the completion of one of those goals trigger the next step automatically, so there are no gaps in your processes. So notice right here, we created that task within this first one, new prospect follow-up. Well, let's say once I've followed up with that prospect, now the next thing is supposed to be triggered. Well, what I can put in play here is, again, I can pull out another, actually, that's a phone call that's being made. So I'll just pull out this phone one right here. And I can say, you know what? This one, instead of being applies a note, is going to be completes a task. And again, what these goals are doing, these goals are looking for something to happen. In this case, this goal is looking for a task to be completed. What task needs to be completed? Well, we double click on it and it's this new prospect follow-up. As soon as this task is completed, then this goal is satisfied and it can trigger the next step right here. It can be the next step in your processes. Again, this may be something that you trigger some workflow. Like I said, it could be something where you set up a workflow to where somebody needs to create a proposal, review the proposal, send the proposal. Well, great. Then you're going to trigger that some particular way. Maybe you've got a new customer proposal request. So let's see how we can now start to put some of these things together. A proposal request. Well, that's likely somebody that's already a prospect. Fantastic. So what we can do in that case is we can create a note template here that would be proposal request, which can be defined as a note template. So if it's somebody that's already in my system, I go apply a note that says they requested the proposal. Fantastic. If you have defined roles there within your company, then what we can do is we can say, okay, the first thing right here that needs to happen is the proposal needs to be created. And that's our process that needs to happen next. And that process will be a task. And we can assign that task of create the proposal to a particular person. Okay, we could go through and customize this entire thing right here, identifying what needs to happen and say, okay, that one needs to be assigned to Scott. Perfect. And then customize that. Well, as soon as Scott completes that goal, the next person now needs to review the proposal. So now I could go in here and say, the next one here is the proposal review, or that goal right there is the proposal was created, and that can now be tracked based on a task being completed. Which task? This one. Now here's what's nice. All that this first person has to do is mark the fact that they completed the task. Then what can happen is automatically a new task when that task is completed, this goal is satisfied. And now we're looking at your next step. So the first person doesn't have to do anything to notify the second person that their job is, now they've got something to do. No, Infusionsoft will take care of it for you. So now this is the review proposal. Perfect. We can now go in here, process, we can create a new task. And this can be the review proposal task. We can assign that to somebody different. Assign to this person. Wonderful. Again, we can put all kinds of notes in here. I'm just trying to save a little bit of time. Now that task can be assigned to somebody different. If you want them to get an email when it's created, you can even set this up right here. You can say notify the owner on that one, okay? And it will then send that notification out to them. Now, what you can also do here, if we go back to campaign, now we can set up the next step in the process. Great. Once the proposal has been reviewed, that is known when somebody completes that task. Which task? Double click on it. The review proposal. Once that's completed, great. Now we can do the next step. Are you starting to get the picture here? I'm hoping that you're seeing how we can now begin to put these things together. Brenda was asking, where is the proposal itself? Is it in Dropbox or uploaded to Infusionsoft? You could decide on that one. That would be up to you. You could use the file box within Infusionsoft and simply upload that. And maybe there's a particular naming convention that you use. The nice thing about being able to set it up this way is now this is just notifying where those stages are at. If you already have a system for document management in place, you don't have to change that system to now put it inside of Infusionsoft. You can use what you currently have. And now what you're able to do with that is now just notify when it's each person's step. Again, the goal here is you don't have to do anything to now make that notification. You simply complete the task. And here's how easy that kind of stuff becomes. Okay. Once I've published all of this out here, now once we're using these, this is where my day comes in brilliantly. Okay. We talked, I started off here with my day. My day is fantastic for this type of stuff because you'll see your appointments right here and you'll see your tasks right here. So any of these tasks that I now need to follow up on, I simply click right here, pops up this information. Now, look at everything. This is where everything we've talked about now comes together. I pull up my task. Fantastic. I've got the task right here. It's got all the information that I need. Now, if in this particular task, there's some information that I need to find out, I need to update, perfect. I can edit the task straight from this screen, okay? If this task has some sort of variable outcome that will be now based on me logging notes, okay? There's a slight difference that I'm introducing here. Sometimes there are things like that process flow that I just demonstrated where I first, somebody creates the proposal. Great. And that's either done or it's not done. And then somebody reviews the proposal. That's either done or that's not done. If it's a simple process like that, then great. All your users now have to do when they're in My Day, they pull this up. It says, hey, I need to do this follow-up phone call, or I need to create this proposal. Fantastic. Once it's done, they check it and it's done. It's marked as done. And any steps that now need to happen afterwards will happen. Easy peasy. It's all set. Okay. So that's one of the beautiful things here. You just check it, and anything that's supposed to now trigger based on that will trigger. Okay. Now, what you can also do here is if there are sometimes variable outcomes to tasks. Okay. So maybe I'm supposed to make a phone call. So maybe one of these is make initial call, make initial contact. Well, wonderful. I want to make that initial contact, but I called them and I left a voice message. Well, I completed the task, but it didn't necessarily move them on to the next step. There are different outcomes on that. There was that task that yes, I completed it. I need to log that I completed it, but the outcomes were either that that I left a message and I need to call them back again tomorrow, or that they never want to hear from me again, or I got a hold of them and they're a qualified prospect, or there might be some others. Fantastic. What I'm going to recommend that you do for those is you create note templates. We spoke about that a little bit earlier. Note templates. Those are great for your FAQs or for any types of follow-up that you need to do. So now what you can do is you can pull this particular one up. It says make initial contact. Well, fantastic. I'm going to add a note, and I know here that I left a message. Perfect. Save. And that note template, what I can do with that note template is it can automatically be configured to have a sequence that will create a new task for me in 2 days, or a new task for me in 3 days, or whatever it is that I've defined that sequence as. So now all I have to do is add that note and then say, done. And so the note, using the note templates in conjunctions with the task, now give me the ability to have variable paths where people come out of it at the end of a task. So I just simply pull up the task and I say, okay, what was my outcome this time? I made that phone call. Perfect. I'm going to add a note. I'm going to choose right here. Boom. How quickly can you now start getting through your task list? When you've got people to contact, you've got people to get in touch with. My Day is beautiful for that. Okay. I make an initial contact here. Great. I get on the phone with them and they say, yeah, I want to schedule my initial consultation. Fantastic. So I jump right over here and I say, you know what? We've got this request a meeting one. They wanted to now schedule a consultation. So now all I do is I configure that one for this date, this time, and I say save, done. What did that do? That just triggered that follow-up sequence to them, and I'm done with this task. Okay, so now we begin to work through our lists very quickly, very quickly. You have full access. When you're using My Day, you have full access here to your contact record. You can view and edit any of the information that we might have on them. You can view any of your tasks. You can send emails. If you need to manually send an email, heck, you can just fire one off right here. If it needs to be fancier than a plain text, then hit email editor, and you can go in here and customize something, use a predefined campaign. There's a lot of things that you can begin to do. You can use our new quoting feature. You can apply tags, internal forms. You've got access to everything right here on My Day. So when we start talking about workflow automation, I want you to start buying back your time. I want you to start looking at what are the things that you're doing most often in relation or correspondence with your customers, or things surrounding your customers, because that can be your internal processes that you have along the way that are offline, off the phone, outside of contact with them, but there are things that you need to do within your office. Great. Now you can begin to execute these on a step-by-step basis. So My Day is where all of that gets brought together. Your users can now come in here. They can access their tasks. They can add new tasks. They can manage appointments and such right here, have full access to all of the information, all of the history related to a contact, all within one screen. And now you're able to from right here, just work through that entire list. So here's what I'm going to do. We're getting pretty close to the top of the hour. I know there are a bunch of questions that have been coming in on this one, and I had a few particular things that I wanted to make sure and get through. So I am going to circle back around, start going through some of these questions. Let me do one thing here real quick. Give me some feedback based on what we've covered so far. And I will go through and answer questions. If you've been here with us before, you know I'm going to stick around to answer those questions. But go ahead and give me some feedback. Let me know how valuable you found this particular one to be here today. I'll leave that up while I'm going through some of the questions that we've got here. All right, I'll leave that one up for about 10 more seconds here. And we'll close that out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Perfect. Thank you for the feedback there. I'm going to save that information here real quick. And I think I hit the wrong button there a second ago. Okay. I think I was accidentally shutting down my computer. That would have been a fun ending. Okay, so let's see. Danny was asking a question here earlier. Danny said, is there any way to send an email and merge in the amount paid or the balance due? Danny, to my knowledge, there is not at this point, not native to Infusionsoft. There are some plugins out there that might do that, plus this might be one that does that. Tactical Actions might be one that does that. I'm not sure what those are. What those do is sometimes they pull in some of that sales information and they will place it on the contact record. So that's why I'm thinking about them, Danny, those particular ones. When you're sending out emails through the campaign builder and such, that's pulling information from the contact record, not from the orders. So if you're looking to automate the notification of the amount paid or the balance due, that's not something that we're going to do through what I've shown you here today. Let's see. Wes said, is there a shortcut to get to the add a contact? If I'm in the campaign builder and a prospect calls, it's a big pain to get to that screen. Wes, I got you there. Personally, when I'm doing that stuff, I cheat. I'll be honest, and I'm going to add caution after caution on this one. We do recommend that you do not use multiple tabs here. Okay, we highly recommend that you don't use multiple tabs, especially when you're adding and deleting some information, like adding an order, anything to do with money, I'm doing in a single tab. Anything to do with deleting records, I'm doing in a single tab. It's designed to operate within one tab. Now, when I'm in the campaign builder, many times I will pop up a second one. Again, I'm throwing out the caution there. That is our official stance on things. Me personally, I guess I'm a little bit of a maverick then when I start using things, and I'll pop up a new tab and I'll run it that way. Now, I haven't had any adverse impacts on that. Actually, I believe I did one time, but in my case, I'm not operating with live data. Most of what I'm doing here is my demo app. So I'm comfortable doing that one. Is it something you can do? Yes. Do it very cautiously. Test it out on your own contact records or something there. But you may be okay if you just need to go in and add a contact there. Let's see. Shiva asked here, I've created an internal form, but I don't know how to get the embedded code or a hosted version to use it. Shiva, did we cover that question there for you? Because you don't have to do anything to use it. It's only accessible there within Infusionsoft when you go to the Add a Contact page. If we say Add a Contact, it's accessible right there. Okay, it is automatically added when you publish it to this dropdown. So when you're using an internal forms and you want to add a brand new contact, it's on that Add a Contact dropdown. Select which form you want to fill out. Additionally, when you are on a contact record or in the interactive list view or on My Day, you also have the option there to click internal forms and then run it on a particular contact record. Kara asked, is there a way to input a birthday without a year? There's not a field for just day and month, is there? Kara, that is correct. There's not a way to input it there without a year. What I would suggest on that one, when you're adding in that information, really where it comes in the most important is when you are creating your campaign. And this is one that I said I would highlight here a little bit later. Notice when we were creating this one that said request a meeting, and I set up this field timer, okay? Kara, if you don't do anything with the year for birthdays, then I would just train your people to not worry about the year for birthdays. Just tell them to put it in with whatever this current year is, or a guesstimate or something. But what you can do is this field right here, this option is what you're going to want to use. If you're doing something like a birthday or an anniversary, something that's going to be recurring every year, then you're going to want to choose the one here, the option that says next occurrence, because that says, I don't care about the year. Just use whatever the next occurrence of this date is, the date and the month. So Kara, if you're trying to base any actions on just the date and the month, then you can do that by choosing next occurrence. If I'm doing something that has to do with a very specific, day, like a consultation day or an event day or something like that, I'm going to say use the year in the field, because now the year has significance. Mary said, can you edit or delete an internal form once it's been created? Yes, I know you can edit the form right there. And to delete it, you would go into the form and you would choose that form and you would say it's not ready. Okay. And then you would republish the fact that it's not ready. And what that will do is it will remove that form. Let's see. Next question that we got here. Kara said, can you have a task dependent on gathering information? Like if they fill out a public form and do not put in their phone number, we will not get the task that says call, because we can't. Kara, if you were going to do something like that, oh, and sorry, I had some stuff that I had created in here that I didn't vet out. That's why it didn't let me publish there. If you were going to do something like that, we would need to start looking at decision diamonds there, Kara, and I would have to look at that particular scenario. So I've not tested to see if there's an exists or doesn't exist. So like their phone number, if data exists in their phone number, then send them down one path or the other. I'm not entirely certain on that one. Let's see. Barbara said, Scott, I want to send information in an application form that was submitted to someone outside of Infusionsoft. How do I do that? Barbara, are you saying like you've got someone outside of Infusionsoft that every time a form is filled out inside of Infusionsoft, you want them notified so they're not a user? Is that what you're saying? If that's the case, then what you need to do is you simply go into one of your emails and you change the email address. You change who it goes to other, and you just hard code in their email address. So instead of it being variable and just being sent to the recipient, then that's what you would do here. Barbara, what do you mean when you say application? When you want them to see the application? You can't export the contents of a web form. When somebody needs all the responses that were contained on a web form, I go through and I build in the, there's two things on that one. I would build in right here an email that then sends out all of those responses. You can just merge that information in. It sounds like what you're asking for is what you would have here, on a regular web form. You're wanting what you've got underneath settings right here, where a notification email can be sent. And I don't believe that that's an option on an internal form, because we're assuming the fact that somebody in your office filled it out. It wasn't something that was done externally to your system. So if you do need to send out all of the information, you'll just create an email that merges in each of those responses. INSA also suggested here regarding the phone number, whether or not the phone number exists. They said here, I think you can have an if field is blank. So yeah, we'll just have to check on specifically how to do that. If anybody knows, go ahead and shout that out on Twitter. Just throw on an IS Mastermind hashtag if you've got some information, or if anybody goes out and tests that, let us know there. Jerry said, when are they going to alphabetize those lists? Jerry, I'm not sure which ones you're referencing on those particular lists. If there's something that's not alphabetized, let me know. I know our internal forms are alphabetized, and our forms right here, our notes are alphabetized as well. So that's I leverage that all the time as I'm going through those particular ones. I leverage the alphabetical sort. Let's see. Rob liked the Control Q to initiate the search. So yeah, as a reminder, if you're in Infusionsoft, you get a call real quick. Hey, it's fantastic to just say Control Q. And you Mac people, don't translate that to say Command Q like you always do when you're here in PC speak, because you know Command Q will shut out your browser. You want to do Control Q as well, and that activates this search box up here. If I want to search by somebody named Scott, I just type in Scott, and it will search by everybody whose first name starts with Scott. If I want to search by somebody with last name Richens, I throw in a asterisk right there in a space. So that asterisk says, I don't care what their first name is, and then I put in a space and it says, but here's their last name, Richens. Fantastic. And that pulls up all of that information, then everybody with the last name Richens. Okay? So that's what you're able to do with those particular, with that Control Q and otherwise there. So let's see. Next one that we've got. Bill said, will it add the date and time to the calendar? In this particular case, what I was showing you with the consultation, using that particular date and time feature, that is external to the calendar on that particular one. What that is really beneficial there for is for your automated correspondence there, Bill. Looks like Mike had the same. Looks like Mike had the same idea there as far as that meeting when I was showing the meetings and how to create that consultation meeting there. One of the good programs out there as well was one that came on recently called Appointment Core, that's really designed to help with meetings and synchronizing your calendars and such, and having online availability for meetings. So if you do a lot of meetings and consultations and such, I would invite you to check that one out. That one, our Battle of the Apps contest at InfusionCon this year, it was voted up and won that one. So got a lot of great feedback from customers. So check that one out. Again, reminder on the date trick: when you are using dates and you want to put in a date field and you want to now get quick on your date fields, okay, what you're able to do, any date field within Infusionsoft, just hit I and it pops up these quick date keys. So I can do T to set it to today, equals adds a day, plus subtracts a day. W adds a week, subtract adds a week. So if I know I'm going to call you next week, I can just hit W and it updates that. Or if I want Monday on the fall, or if I want next month, I just hit M. H removes a month. I can choose the first Monday or Tuesday of next week to start walking through things like this. And these are all keyboard shortcuts that I'm beginning to use there. So those are some things to take a look at. Just hit I for information in any form or any date field. Sandy, did you get your question answered there? You asked if I was doing 3 different campaigns. I recommend that you do a lot of that stuff in a single campaign for your workflow automation. No need to create a single campaign for each individual note template or task or anything there. I just put a number of those in the same one. Somebody asked here, Kara was asking, please explain the Control Q again. Again, I'm catching up on questions that were asked about 30 minutes ago during the session, so I'm plowing through some things here. Kara said, Does it find what you put in there in anywhere in the record or not? So when I do that, when I hit Control Q or when I activate this, basically what it's doing is I've got Kara here. If I type Kara, anything that I type right up front, it's going to search your first names. It's going to search all first names. So if I search by Scott, it searches by starts with this information, starts with Scott. So that will pull up Scott. It will pull up, I had some Scotties in here as well. It looks like they're all gone. So Scotty. It pulls up everything that starts with that value. Okay. So if I just said give me everybody that is SO, that would pull everybody's name that started with an S or an SC. Okay. If I wanted to search by a last name, I have to tell it, I have to throw in that asterisk and then type in the last name. So if I did Rich, again, it's saying starts with this. So if I want to pull everybody with Richins or Richie or Richard, I could just say starts with Rich, and then that will pull everybody there. So if I'm really not sure what their full name was or whatever, I could say, I think it was Scott R, Scott something. I don't remember what it was. And it will search by everybody that says first name Scott, first name starts with Scott, last name starts with R, and it will pull up all of those. If I want to search by an email, I just put an @ symbol in there, and it will search with that. That @ symbol says this is an email address. Go find the email address. If I wanted to find everybody at infusionsoft.com, great. Again, I throw in an asterisk as a wild card, and it will give me everybody that has an @infusionsoft.com email address. So there's a lot of things that you can do with that, and it's really handy when you just activate it with a Control Q. If you need to search some other records, company, task, orders, things like that, what I'm told you can also do is do a shift up and down. Okay, I think that works on a PC only. That's not one that works on a Mac. But I'm told on a PC you can do shift up and down, and it will cycle through these different types of records. Angela asked if there's a reference list for the shortcut keys. I don't believe there is, but I will check with our. I'll check with the person that does our help center and see if they can put that in place. When it comes to the date fields, again, you just hit I, and that gives you all the shortcuts right there. Tony, great question here. Tony's asking about in these workflows that I'm creating under a task. He's looking for some clarification here. Can you please explain the notify backup under task? Okay, right within here. What we've got right here, if you're using owners within Infusionsoft, if you have an owner specified for each of your contacts, so maybe that owner is a sales rep that they're working with, or maybe that owner is their dedicated customer service rep. Well, then fantastic. You would naturally want certain tasks to be assigned to their owner if they have one. Okay, so if there's supposed to be a follow-up call made, then let's have the person that is their point of contact make that follow-up call. So we can say assign to the owner. Then the reason this says backup in parentheses, it says, hey, if they don't have an owner, who do you want it to fall to? Okay, so when this is checked, backup is who it will be assigned to in the absence of an owner. When this isn't checked, assigned to is who it will always be assigned to. So let's say there's a particular task now that instead of needing to come from their point of contact, it instead comes from maybe an administrative assistant or somebody that's there helping all of the sales reps. It doesn't need to go to their particular point of contact, the owner. Instead, it all falls to the same person. Great. You leave this unchecked and assign to backup, you now specify who that is. Now, let's see. Mohammed's asking, where can I watch this again? Mohammed, I will get this posted up to our page that is help.infusionsoft.com/mastermind. Okay, I'll also announce it once it's available. I'll announce that on Twitter. And what you're able to do once you go to that particular page is you can then click on the Archives tab, Mastermind Archives, and I will have this updated and uploaded so that you have access to this. Eric Eric, check this out. Eric's saying, can you show how to run reports and track and make sure the salesperson is doing these tasks, etc.? How do we manage the salespeople doing these tasks with reports? Great question there. Love that you're starting to get into that. What you can start looking at is admin reports. There's a couple different things here, Eric. You can look at admin reports and you can look at these task or note reports. Okay, this gives you some detailed information where I can see all of the notes that have been applied. So I can start to go through and edit that information. I can search within a particular date range. I can search based on who it was assigned to. Okay, so if I needed to see everything that Scott had done within a particular time frame, then great. I filter by that and say search, and it will pull up detailed records there. Now, one of the other things that you might be looking there for, Eric, could be some summaries. And there's a couple different ways that you can pull summaries. You can either do some custom save searches and use a little box of stats. So by doing a save search, what you're able to do is you could put together a report here that is pulling specific information for a certain person. So I just said, give me everything here for Scott within this certain date range. Okay, so I can say, I want to keep an eye here on his month of June productivity. How many is he dealing with? Fantastic. So I've got that information right here. Now, what I can do is I can save that and say, you know what? This is Scott's notes or tasks. And I can save that. Now, if I'm looking for some summaries, I could then just take that and place it on my dashboard. I'm going to save some time here to pop up a new tab again. I don't recommend that you do that, but I'm in a test app here. What I can do is I can add a dashboard widget that is my little box of stats. And that allows me to do some summaries here. So if I want to do a side-by-side comparison that I see on my dashboard all the time, great. I can just pull this up right here. I want to see a count of this report that is Scott's notes and tasks. Save and go home. And now I can do that for everybody that I want to have visibility into. That's one way to do it there, Eric. There's another way that you can do it, and that would be underneath here, CRM reports. There's another thing that we can look at underneath sales, and I'm trying to remember which one this is. Call history and call log. What we're starting to look at here, call history report. This is now looking at my reps, and it's just summarizing the total number of calls as logged based on those notes that they're applying. Okay, so this is now looking at those notes that they're running, whether it's a note template or a manually created note. This is now showing you a summary of that information right here on this page. You just don't necessarily get as specific and as defined as you might want to with some of those other filters that I showed you on the other screen. So the first one I showed you is more customizable. This one is more plug and play. Okay, does that help there, Eric? Does that speak to your question? Awesome. Okay, perfect. So let's see. Next one, we got Joe. Joe's asking, can we see opportunities and next action dates? I think Joe is asking about the My Day page. When we're dealing with My Day, can he see opportunities and next action dates? Joe, the answer is right now, no. Next action dates and opportunities are not visible here on My Day, but they are coming. I just saw some mock-ups and some designs on what that's going to look like this week. Our designers were showing that one to me, and they're going to be working on building that one out. So Joe asked, can you do a next action date in a sequence? And the answer on that one, Joe, is no. There's no way to pull in the next action date to then base steps within your sequence off the next action date. Not at this time. Joe, if that's something that you're using a lot, feel free to drop me an email, respond to the email that I sent out to you last night, hear about mastermind calls, give me a little bit of context here, refresh my memory on that one, and I will see if I can get you in contact with that particular team. If this is something that you're looking at using on a regular basis, then I would love to see if we can get you in contact with them to see what our design looks like and get some usability testing there. So let me know, Joe. Go ahead and respond to me. Respond to my email there. So let's see. Kevin, hey, good to see you here, brother. Yes, I will have this posted up here later today so that you can access this and review it. Eric, thanks for the feedback here. Konstantinos, let's see. Vendors, we make reservation. Can we create a template to email the company main contact and initiate the reservations? That's interesting. Are you still here with us, Konstantinos? Let me check Yep, looks like you're still here on the call with us. Kara, thanks for the feedback. Konstantinos, are you saying you've got vendors, so perhaps after you book something, now what you need to do is reach out to the vendor and initiate some external communication with them? It sounds like that's what you're trying to do. Is once you book something with a client, now you need to trigger some information out to the vendor. Okay. Konstantinos, the answer on that could be yes, but I'm not entirely certain. I can't probably dive as deep as you need to here. But what I will point out, what's coming to mind here, some things that you can leverage, Konstantinos, would be the option within your emails. So let's say, for example, you've got a vendor that you're working with on a particular job for a client or something. You could create a custom email address on the contact record that is titled vendor email. And then what that would enable you to do is once you do any of these steps, you could define your email to then go, let me go to an email. You could define your email to then be sent to other. You could merge in a special field, which would be your custom contact field, and you could have an email address right here. So you fill in that email address with who the vendor is and the vendor contact, and now you can have that email sent to the vendor, and you can merge in information about the dates and times that you already have in play on that contact record. Konstantinos, I think that's going to be your best bet. If you need some more in-depth, strategy on that one, I'd recommend let's get you connected up with an account manager here, and let's get you some advanced coaching with one of our coaches here. They can really help you streamline that process for you. So let me know on that one, and we'll get you connected up with the right person. Let's see. KT said, is there a way to search for contacts who have an active task or a task due today? Yeah, so there's a couple things here, KT. When you are on My Day will show you all of your active tasks, okay? So those are specific here. This is showing me everything that's overdue that was assigned to me. Everything that isn't yet assigned that's assigned to me. It will show me everything that's due today that's assigned to me. My Day is specifically that. It is my day. It is everything assigned to me. If I want to see all tasks, I can come right over here, and now I can say show all users that have something due today or past due. Okay. KT, does that get you what you need? You need to take action on the contacts. Sure. So notice right here, it has the contact right here. So you can then just click through to that contact record. So you do have direct access to that. You can just click through on that contact record, and you've got full access to their information there. But not as a group. How do you mean? What if you have different tasks on them? Then I don't know why you'd want to interact with them as a group. It doesn't interface the same way that My Day was. You want to select 5 or 10 contacts with the same task. Then what you're looking for is, how do I filter people that have the same task? I would start looking at what it is that you're actually doing. I would look at that. That may not be a task that you're wanting to do then. You're saying you've got 5 or 10 contacts with the same task. You want to send them a broadcast email. I would ask KT why you're doing a broadcast email to 5 or 10 people. That sounds like an automated email that you'd send out. So I'd really look more at your strategy there. If it's the same email, you should be able to send that out as an automated email instead of having to manually do that one. Let's see. One thing I want to throw out here as well, we're starting to dwindle on some folks that are here on the call. We still got a bunch, but if you've got ways that you're leveraging this, I want to know about it. I want to hear about it. people take when I teach these things and they tell me, holy cow, this is one of my favorite sessions. I save so much time. Tell me about it. I want to know about it, because then what I can do is I can start to circle some of these things around and highlight some of the things that you guys are doing out there and teach other people from what it is. So if you're doing something, if you have some great successes or some ideas on how you're going to implement this, send me an email, hit me up on Twitter, let me know what you're doing, because I want to know how you're now applying this. Cheryl asks, Scott, on the My Day interface, Cheryl, good to see you here. Can you search for and pull up a contact record that doesn't have a current appointment or task in play? Not on the My Day interface. That's not what the My Day interface is created for. You can search for it right here. Now, if I want to create a task and assign it to you, Cheryl, I think, call prospect. Okay, I can add a task right here, and it will create that task. And then what I can do with that particular task, I can save the task, right? So this task I've got right within here, I'm able to assign that to a particular contact right here. Okay, so I can go through and assign that to my contact and hit save, and now it's associated with that contact. So I don't have to pull up the contact first. I can create the task and then assign it to a contact. Let's see. Steve, again on this one, Steve is asking here about the replay. Steve, I will announce it on Twitter once it's available. You can also always go to help.infusionsoft.com/mastermind, and we've got the Mastermind archive tab right here for you so that you can access and download that. Barbara, appreciate the feedback here. Ali, same thing. Brian, wonderful, appreciate it. Insa knew a bunch of this already, so fantastic. Let's see. Kathleen, thank you. Insa, give me a little bit more clarity here. I might have lost a little bit of context on your question. You were asking, can't you have a custom field? Let me know here. Where you were wanting that custom field, and I'll circle back around. Let's see. Tom asked, he was asking about some of his automated emails. They seem to not make it to the inbox of some of his client accounts. What's the easiest way to go into the system and resend a previously sent email? Good question there. If we're working on a particular contact, okay, what we're able to do is we're not going to have anything there. So let me go find one that we were dealing with, see what I can do there. When you have an email that's already been sent there, Tom, you're able to pull up that contact record and go into the campaigns portion. And if there's an email that you need to resend, you just click resend, and that'll take care of it for you. All right. Let's see. Danny's asking, tip internal form, you can make it the default customer form. I think you may be able to. Let's go take a look there, Danny. I think that's under your, is that admin settings there, Danny? If you're real familiar with that one, help me out here. I don't think it's application, and it's not main navigation. Maybe it's underneath CRM settings. There may be somewhere within here that you can specify that default new add new contact form. Yes, there we go. The default add new contact form. So if you're constantly using one of those new prospect forms, what you're able to do is come in here and you can specify which form it is. So if we've got that new prospect phone is the one that I'm typically using all the time when I add a new contact, that's underneath right here, CRM settings, and then it's right there underneath general. Okay, so your general tab. scroll all the way down, and you can say default add new contact form. So now when I'm adding a new contact, let's see if this works here. There we go. Boom. Automatically defines that one there for me. Danny, thank you for the tip there. Let's see. Tom said, could you guys add the email address for a referral affiliate in the affiliate record when looking at their info under the Manage Referral Partner Info page? Gotcha. Yeah, right now it links out to the contact record, but you don't have the email directly itself. Tom, good feedback on that one. If you can type that up for me and send me a response, a suggestion on that one, Tom, I'll make sure that gets over to that particular team. Many other places, when we link it to an existing record, you can at least click through on it. But I am aware, Tom, that in that particular situation, you can't click through to even quickly access that contact record. So yeah, pass that on to me and I'll get it to the right person. Mary said, can you create an internal form outside of the campaign builder? You used to be able to. I don't know if you can anymore at this point, Mary. That was a legacy feature that used to be there. It was actually there originally before we had it in the campaign builder. But we may have removed that one. There were a number of bugs with it, so we actually refactored it when we created it in the campaign builder. Jerry, did you get clarification to your question here on accessing internal forms from my day? Let me know if I still need to cover that one there. Let's see. Yeah, another Jerry. Jerry with a J, not Jerry with a G. Let's see. KT said, can links from files in my Infusionsoft file box be sent to customers? If so, how do I get the right link, not the email attachment? The link would be built into our course manuals. KT, are you talking about your general files right here? Your company files on that one? Yes. KT, I would need to take a look at that one. I know I had used that previously. There were ways that you could grab that information. Like if I copied that link and deleted all this extra stuff, you used to just be able to use this thing here that said download equals ID 3418, and it would trigger the download. And then I've got that particular file right there. Now, here's the caveat there, KT. Yeah, the logging in part, you've reached that one there. That used to work, and I think now it requires that to be logged in. Now, what you may be able to do on that, KT, is this link right here, this CloudFront link is actually where it's hosted. So I've actually never tested this, but if I go to Chrome where I'm not logged in, it looks like you could use that direct CloudFront link. So KT, to get that link right there, it looks like you'll just pull the link that you already know how to grab, which is that Infusionsoft download ID link, but then that should redirect you to where it's hosted there on CloudFront. So give that one a shot. Hey, learn something new every day. Great question. Camilo, good to see you here, brother. Camilo is one of my customers. Join us here from the great nation of Canada. Camilo, good to see you here on the call. Let's see. Kara likes the asterisk for searching. Awesome. Sandy was asking again, so this was for getting back over here. You can use this to search other records. Yes, you can search for company records, and that will search company names. You can search tasks, appointments, and notes. So that will search task, appointment, or note titles. Okay, it'll search the titles of those. It does not search the entire contents of your tasks, appointments, or notes. You can search orders, subscriptions, all of that stuff. Insa liked the name @ to search by an email address. Yeah, that's fantastic. One of the best ways to get around some things really quick. Let's see. Joe, we spoke about that one. Barbara loved this one. My mind is going 200 miles an hour with everything I see. So, Barbara, I want to know how you put some of this stuff together. Ruth, she said, great session. She aims at putting something into action tonight. So, do me a favor. I want to hear what you all do on these things. I want to hear what you put together based on this particular call. I want to see some examples. Feel free to cut a short little screencast. Use something like Jing to do a short screencast. Show me what you're doing, or type me up an email. But I'd love to see how you're putting these things to work and how it's then saving you time. I mean, when you think about it, logging notes, if you've got a sales rep or you've got a customer service rep that's logging notes based on every interaction, which ideally they will be doing so that you have a full customer history, let's find a way to do that in a very effective and efficient manner. Take the types of phone calls that they're doing the most and start with that. You don't have to start with everything right up front. Start with the thing that's going to buy you back the most time, because now the less time that they're spending sending emails and filling out notes and forms and stuff like that, the more time they're able to service your customers. Your productivity can go through the roof on these things. Konstantinos, I noticed you sent me your email address here. Do me a favor, respond to me with whatever the information was that I was requesting from you there. Actually send me an email, because once I close this out, I typically don't take that information back with me. I have to go dig through the reports and such. So Konstantinos, drop me an email with a request and what I need to work on there for you, or who I need to put you in touch with. It sounded like for your advanced coaching there. So just drop me an email. All right, let's see. What's next? Sandy said, I need a coach to set up a new business. So setting it up properly from the beginning, do they all charge the same amount? Sandy, internally, we've got some packages that we offer there. Sandy, how long have you been with Infusionsoft? Are you just starting a brand new business that you're going to be running out of an existing Infusionsoft application? Is that what you're looking at doing? Let me know. Really, what I ought to do there, Sandy, is get you in touch with whoever your account manager is, and they can talk to you about your options. So if you know who your account manager is, go ahead and reach out to them right away. If you don't, then send me an email and I'll get that to the right person so they can then reach out to you. Good. Sandy says she's been with us forever. Now she's starting a new business. Okay, Sandy, just send me that information. Send me that person's name, and I'll go thump them a little bit. I'll go give them a hard time. So just give me that information. Let's see. Jeff, awesome. Thanks for being here with us. Let's see, Brenda, sending weekly reminders set as a sequence. What if one week we decide to cancel a call? Do we set a task that makes us check off if the call is on or not before it goes out each week? Brenda, that's a good question there. If you're doing like a weekly sequence, weekly reminder, that could be something where you go in and just schedule those on specific dates and you just toggle the email on or off. It could be something where you go in, and if it's something that you're doing every week, is it a different email there, Brenda, every week? Different email that you're putting out? Same email? Okay, if it's the same email, you may want to go in and do something slightly different there. Brenda, what I would look at, really what you're going to need to look at, you're going to have two different sequences running at the same time. You're asking about a task. Maybe you do want a task reminder that says, hey, this email is going to go out tomorrow. Make sure that you either turn it on or turn it off, whatever's going to be best for you. You don't want to put that task the step before the email, because that email is supposed to go out to 100 or 200 people or however many you have, that task will also be created for all 100 or 200 people. So just be aware of that. You would want to do a separate parallel sequence that you only put one person in, that's somebody there within your office. Let's see. KT, I'm going to give you this. I appreciate you continuing to ask the question here. I'll try and answer what I can. And yeah, for some specific situations there, KT, honestly, one of the best things to do, one of the most valuable things to do is call in here and purchase an hour of time with a coach and just slam through a lot of questions like that are really unique to you. I'll try and answer what I can here, though. You're saying I'm more confused on that tasks and contacts questions and now how to set up an automated email as opposed to a broadcast email. Is the best idea to call the helpline? Actually, on that one, KT, it's not going to be the helpline. That would be some coaching we'd want to get you into. But KT, let me ask you this. How familiar are you with the campaign builder? If you're not really familiar with the basics there, the campaign builder, okay, you are familiar on that one. What I would look at in the place of creating a task to have an email sent out, or task to remind you to send out an email broadcast, I would create the email and have the email sent out. I mean, it's almost just as easy as just swapping the two of those in a sequence itself. So instead of creating a task, which is going to say, hey, go send the email, well, ditch the task and say, here's the email that I want sent out, and just automate that. I might be missing something here, KT. So that could be it. You're just trying to knock out past tasks. Okay, gotcha. Let me see what I can find on that one. Let me answer a couple other questions, and I'll take a second here towards the end. Tony, thank you for the feedback. I appreciate it. That is definitely an intentional thing. Jerry here says she knows my mother. My mother is a fantastic woman. I love it. Jerry, I'm assuming you're in the virtual assistance industry there. That would be my typical first guess, as my mother was a virtual assistant there for years. Yep, fantastic. Good to see you here on the call. Let's see. Go figure, Jerry. My mother encountered Infusionsoft while working for one of her clients, and that's how I discovered Infusionsoft. So that was when I was becoming a customer about 5 years ago. Small world. Let's see. What else do we have here? Sandy, perfect. Appreciate the clarification. Mary asked, can you use the wildcard in other areas besides the find contact for searching? Yes, you absolutely can. That's kind of a databasey thing there, Mary. But if you're doing any sort of contact searches, you could say, you could put wildcards in there. So for example, if I wanted to search for everybody who had a phone number, I could do a phone number that started with 480. And in that case, I wouldn't need a wildcard. But what you could also do is say equals, and then you could say asterisk dash 1234. Basically, that asterisk just says, I don't care what it has here. It's a wildcard. So give me all phone numbers that have 480 at the beginning and 1234 here at the end. Or where it may make more sense is on emails. Give me everything that is an at Infusionsoft.com. I don't care what their first name is here, what the prefix is. I just want everybody that has an at Infusionsoft.com email address or an at AOL.com email address. Steve, awesome. Again, Steve, this will be posted at mastermind or help.infusionsoft.com/mastermind. If you go to /mastermind, you're able to then click through here on the Mastermind Archives tab. And that's where I will have this posted up later. Okay, good there, Sandy. Good to know. Thanks for the clarification. And KT, awesome. Thank you for your patience on this one. Yeah, if we need to get you connected up with a coach, KT, let's do that. We've got some phenomenal folks here that really, this is what we do all day. So instead of you trying to recreate the wheel, if any of you out there are going, man, I've got a process, I know what my process is, and sometimes you start to see the ability of what you can do here with Infusionsoft. Okay, you start to see that, but sometimes it's not the best investment of your time to now go spend all the time to go figure out how to do it. Hey, you know what? Just come hire one of us. Get one of our coaches. We've got some advanced coaching packages and such where you can get on the phone with somebody and just bring what it is that you want to cover. Hey, here's my process. Help me automate this. What's the best, most effective way to do that? I highly recommend that. So check that out. Let me know. I'll get you in touch with the right people if that's something that you are interested in. Your account managers are the right folks. So if you know who those are, reach out to them. If you had a coach that you worked with that you want to work with some more, reach out to them. And they'll connect you up with the right folks. So anyways, let's see. Kevin, thanks for being here again, brother. Enjoy Iceland. I saw your pic there on Twitter yesterday. So Kevin's always up to good things here. Let's see. What else we got? Mary, I'm glad we were able to clarify that then. So perfect. Tom asked real quick, we'll do this as almost a parting theme. Tom said, how do we set up My Day to open as the first page we see in our app? Great question. If you want to see My Day as soon as you log in, Tom, that's going to be a profile setting. So you can go into Edit My Profile and then Preferences. What you can do is you can set it to be your My Nav top link, your dashboard, or custom. Okay, so if you want it to be your My Day, what I would recommend is you say, set this to be My Nav top link and save it. And then make sure that your My Day is configured to have, or your My Nav has My Day at the very top, because then that will by default be your home page every time you log in. Awesome. Okay, fantastic. Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap up here. I appreciate y'all being here on the call. Again, here's the biggest thing that I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear what you're doing with this information. I want to hear what difference this is making. I want to hear your success stories. So please, this is me asking you, follow up with me. Tell me what you guys are doing, because if we do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow up. We may do another webinar here in a few months where we highlight things that you guys are doing, things that you've gone out and created. And we can now start to really highlight these with some examples. Maybe I'll pull some of you in here with me to cover some of those things. So give me some feedback. Let me know what you're doing. And I would love to hear the success stories from you guys. So again, thank you so much for being here. I will get this recording posted up as soon as I can. It might be tomorrow morning before I can get it, but I will get it posted up there. KT, scott.richens@infusionsoft.com. Just go ahead and reply to the mastermind webinar that I sent out, the mastermind email that I sent out to you yesterday. If you've got some information for me there, just reply to any of my mastermind emails that I send out. Those all come to me. So wonderful. Thanks so much. Have a wonderful day. I know it's a little bit early, but have a wonderful weekend when you get there. Those of you over in the UK, I look forward to seeing you next week when we're there. And as a reminder, there will be no mastermind call next week. We'll pick up in 2 weeks. So again, thanks so much. Look forward to seeing you guys on a future mastermind webinar.